Good afternoon once again, all my comic collecting friends out there in YouTube land. Gonna do my final video of my Baltimore Comic Con stuff, and I'm just gonna cover a few signed books I forgot to show, and then I'll show my lithographs that I got and my sketches. Before I get into that, just want to say a few things real quick. First of all, I went back and I watched those videos finally of that I posted of my signatures, especially the day one video. I guess my arms were a bit shot from carrying this massive duffel bag around all day. But plus I just got this new phone. It's got a much nicer, higher megapixel camera and it posts in 1080p, but it's a bigger phone, and I guess my arms were shot. But man, I just posted a horribly shaky video in that first day for you guys to watch, and I apologize, man. That video looked like Muhammad Ali filmed it sitting on a tumble dryer. So I'm sorry for putting you all through that. I'll try and hold it more steady this time. I can't guarantee anything. The other thing I want to say is when I got on, I noticed I had passed 100 subscriptions, so I just want to thank everybody for that. I appreciate everybody that subscribes, everybody that takes the time to watch my videos, everybody that comments. I look forward every day to getting on here and communicating with people and looking at what everybody else has posted and looking at everybody else's collections. And it's a cool community, man. I really do. You know, it sounds dumb. I do get a little envious sometimes, especially, people who have collections like Captain Strangeliffe and Hippie. But I appreciate that people love this stuff as much as I do, and I know how much they appreciate the great stuff they have, and I just love sharing it with everybody, and I know they like sharing their stuff, and it's just cool seeing what everybody else has. And I get excited for you guys when I see, there's some shakiness, sorry, but when I see Boba Fett with his graded Bernie Wrights and Swamp Things, I know what that would mean to me, and I appreciate them. And Clint just got like a 9.6 graded Walking Dead #1, and I know how excited you'd be, so you know how he feels. And so many people in here have such great stuff, and people have toy collections that just take me back to my childhood, and movie collections, and it's just great. I really look forward to watching everybody's videos. So thank you guys for helping me reach 100 subs. And I do have to save some money because I have another convention coming up in a couple weeks, but at some point I do want to do a subscriber giveaway because so many people do that, and I think it's a nice gesture when people take their own books and do that stuff. So I'm gonna give something back a little later down the road. Maybe I'll wait for 150 subs, or maybe I'll do it next month. We'll see what happens. But I am gonna put some books together to do a giveaway at some point. But I also want to say to a lot of guys whose videos I do like, but they do like their weekly pull list. I watch your vids a lot, but I don't always comment and I don't always finish them sometimes because I unfortunately only get to pick up my books once a month. So I'm a lot more behind on reading than a lot of you guys. So a lot of times by the time I read my books and then get around to watching your reviews, it's like 3-4 weeks later, and I don't always comment. But guys like Dark Nate and Running with Comics and White James Brandon, and especially Roger 69501, one of the first couple people's videos I started watching. I always check his videos out, if nothing else, just to see if he hits the beach in Puerto Rico and there's some hot Puerto Rican mommies. But no, just kidding. I really dig all your guys' reviews, and Roger did a nice little series for Superman's 75th anniversary, going over great Superman storylines. So I look forward to everybody's videos. Everybody brings something to the table. I love learning stuff from you guys. I mean, just recently, it's weird how it went full circle, because like I made a video about my Bronze Age 35-cent price variance, and not too later I get a message from Why Not Art saying, hey, I didn't know about the 35-cent variants, and I looked through my collection. I found a couple, and I was like, oh, that's cool, man. That really makes my day that kind of helped you out a little bit. And when he did his video of his price variance, I've always had this Shogun Warriors #1 that looks like a price variant, but the guide says it's not. Well, through Tony's research and what he found in his box, he's like, oh, this is my Whitman Price variant. I know that because it has the title in a small border by the Comics Code Authority symbol, and it has a white UPC, empty UPC symbol. And I never knew those were Whitman variants, so without Tony's information, I wouldn't have known that. So it's like I gave him some information that in turn helped him, and when he found with that, he gave me back some more information that in turn helped me, and it goes full circle, man. You know, new collectors and old alike, we all have something to offer. We all learn from each other. We all turn each other on to new books and new artists and writers, and that's what's so great about this community. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Thank you guys again for all your support. What I'm going to do now is just show a couple of these signed books, and then I'll get into my other stuff. But what I wanted to reiterate is I had mentioned that when Mark Waid signed my books, he signed all the books on the cover, then he gets the Kingdom Come and he signs them on the inside. I do not care at all about that. I just thought it was interesting because I knew him and Alex Ross kind of have a dispute going long term over kind of who created what in this book, and I don't know the exact details behind it, but I don't think it's unrealistic to think both of them had input on this book. I don't know what the dispute is about. Alex Ross is one of the best artists in the business, and Mark Waid is one of the best writers in the business. They're both one of the best at what they do. So just like the Tony Moore, Robert Kirkman thing, I don't take sides. I'm just a fan, and I know they both worked on it. You don't like to see anybody get screwed. I don't know the details of this, but I do know Mark Waid. I've never met Alex Ross. Mark Waid's a hell of a nice guy, no ego, very outgoing and polite to his fans. So I don't take sides. I just thought it was interesting to note, like, he didn't want to sign those on the cover for whatever reason. But I do know there's kind of a little dispute between him and Alex Ross, and I don't believe they worked together after this. So I just wanted to say that. And I'm not going to open these all the way because this is like a hard stock cover, and I don't want to bend it up. But Mark Waid signed number 1 there for me. Oh, sorry. And this is number 2, and you gotta love the covers to these. Alex Ross is a master. This is number 2, signed by Mark Waid. Number 3, I love the way he drew or painted Shazam on there with like the thunder cloud, storm cloud around him. That's just freaking awesome. Batman looks great too. And there's his signature. And this is such an awesome cover with Superman on number 4. And Mark Waid also signed that for me. And I'm sure most of you have read Kingdom Come, but if you have not and you read comics, you absolutely must read that book. And if you haven't read it, you're going to read it twice once you get it. It's that damn good. It is a must-read for any comic fan. Seriously, if you don't own it, get right on Amazon or eBay and pick that shit up. That's one of the books. My friends that don't read comics, and they ask me, for a book, what should I read? I give them that, or like Superman for All Seasons or something like that. But 99% of the time, that's the trade paperback I hand them. So, this is a book I forgot to show. This is the Wizard World Texas variant to Wolverine the End number 1, and Paul Jenkins signed that for me. And it's a David Finch cover, and that is an awesome cover. I really like this cover a lot. Let me see if I can get it clear. There we go. I wanted to get it signed by David Finch, but his line was massive both days. He was the only one that constantly at all hours had a line that rivaled George Perez's. So I unfortunately never got to get to Mr. Finch, which really bummed me out because I want to get some of my Moon Knight signed because I'm a big Moon Knight fan. And I think that run that David Finch and Charlie Houston did was probably, in my opinion, is my favorite Moon Knight run, probably the best. But here's that Hellboy Library Edition Volume 1. And I understand Mike Mignola doesn't really like to sign these that much anymore because a lot of people sell them on eBay. Because this is book, I believe, the first editions go for like over $125. So, but I didn't have that many books, and when we were talking, I've heard he denied other people. He didn't say anything when I pulled him out. He signed them for me. So, who knows? Maybe he doesn't care anymore because they're back in print on Amazon. I don't know. but he was nice enough to sign 1 and 2 for me, and it doesn't matter. I'm not selling these are mine. As a matter of fact, I'm so anal. There's volume 2. I'm so anal, these aren't getting read again. I'm going to be putting these in treasury bags, and I'm going to be buying reader copies of Library Edition volume 1 and 2. So little did Mr. McNolan know that he was signing these books for such an anal comic collector that he basically sold 2 more copies of that Library Edition for himself. So it all works out. I have to hold these up so they don't fall down, but you know, I talked earlier about how artists will remaster their art themselves for their prints so that they make sure everything looks right. And I showed my G.I. Joe yearbook number 1, and it's one of my favorite G.I. Joe covers of all time by Michael Golden. And Michael Golden remastered this print himself, and it looks gorgeous. You can put it side by side with the cover, which I should have done, but I didn't think that far ahead and wasn't prepared as usual. But he did an amazing job and signed that for me, and I love this piece of art. Love it. It was such an impact on my childhood. I remember riding back from the comic store as a little kid and sitting in the backpack of my mom's station wagon with my books all spread out, and I just sat there and stared at the front and back cover of this for probably 10 minutes before I even read the book. It just burned in my mind as a kid. Really like Michael Golden's work on G.I. Joe and Nam. Next up, I'm going to show, this was in the Artist Alley. Oh boy, sorry. In the Artist Alley, this was by an up-and-coming artist named Adam Edge, and he signed it for me. And it's a Frank Zappa piece he did. And being that Frank Zappa is from Baltimore, I'm an extra big fan. But I think the mothers of invention, they just don't make bands like that. Frank Zappa was a true musical genius. Not only as a musician, as a musical composer, he was a genius. There's no one else like him, in my opinion. But I love this quote, too. Remember, there's a big difference between kneeling down and bending over. Such a great quote by Frank Zappa. I had to get that. $10 and he signed it, so. Let me see here. I'm going to show these and get back to them. But I had mentioned in another video a guy named Ken Hunt, and he grew up around me, and a local comic store I went to in middle school would sell his sketches back then. He was a little skinny teenager in the 90s, and I bought a Superman sketch he did ages ago, which I probably still have in my parents' house, but he's getting big time now. DC's just signed him up to, he's going to start doing the covers of Talon, I believe, starting next issue, so please, if you see a Talon cover by Ken Hunt, pick it up and support him so DC will keep him on other work. But this is a piece he did, God, almost, I guess, 5 years ago now, but he told me he always loved Speed Racer and he was always drawing the Mach 5 as a kid, so he did this, and he gave me 4 prints for $20 and signed them because, you know, I remembered him and I even told him the name of the shop, and he's like, yeah, so I think he thought it was cool I remembered him because he's just now breaking big, and he's been trying for a while, but he's getting better and better. And there's that, the Speed Racer print. This is an older one, but I got this because I like the layout of it. He did a new Joker one, which you can see on his website, Ken Hunt, KenHunt, and then the Joker he just did recently is awesome. But he did this cover after Mark Silvestri. I guess not a cover, but this sketch of Batman, colored it in, turned it into a beautiful print. And I just liked it, him sitting in the cave with all the monitors of his villains around him. So the Joker one was probably a little more impressive, but I just kind of liked the layout of this, so I got that. He's really coming along. And this one was done. I mentioned the hardcover yearbook they gave us, 2013 Baltimore Comic-Con yearbook they gave us in our grab bag. Was basically a hardcover dedication to the 30th anniversary of Usagi Yojimbo. And I told you it was just full of one-page art pieces by all these great artists with their takes on Usagi. And Ken Hunt did this one this year for the yearbook. And he only had 10 of these prints, and he signed and numbered. And this is his version of Usagi. He said he wasn't exactly happy with how it turned out, but I think it looks pretty damn awesome. And I I hope to see more of him in the industry because he's a hell of a nice guy on top of all of it. Whoa, sorry. Almost dropped that. I have to hold this up. This is by, again, an up-and-coming artist named Dennis Budd. Check out his website because this guy can paint his ass off, and he paints a lot of stuff from my childhood. This is a print of Gil Gerard as Buck Rogers, and it is very good, I think. This guy had a Christopher Reeve Superman, an Adam West Batman, Linda Carter Wonder Woman. So many people painted in this type of style. And the Christopher Reeve and especially Linda Carter were spot on. I kind of wish I'd have got the Wonder Woman, but get on his site and check his stuff out, Dennis Budd. I'd be surprised if we don't see more from him in the industry because he is talented. Next up, I want to plug these guys because I've known these guys since high school. We used to go to shows together all the time. We still communicate. We're just older and busier, but we still talk several times a year. We live near each other. I've known these guys, half my life. And this is a watercolor piece of Daniel Day-Lewis as the Butcher from Gangs of New York by my good friend Nate Getz. And my friends Nate Getz and Tony Calandra, they're trying to get in the business, and they're good. And Nate has a very strong Japanese manga influence on his art, which I love. And I'm telling you, get on his site and look at his stuff. He did this Rogue piece that is just gorgeous in its layout. He did some really cool pieces where he took Marvel characters. Like he made Deadpool a Red Lantern. He did a Wolverine as a Yellow Lantern piece. He does a lot of cool stuff. But check out Nate's site. His it's down there at the bottom. It'll NateGetzIllustration.com. NateGetz illustration.com. Please check out his site and his art. He's a cool guy. And he does commission work, and it's not that expensive if you want something done. And this is Tony writes their books that they self-publish books. I should have showed the one I got. But they self-publish their books. They're trying to get out there. Tony writes them. And he also writes comic book reviews on the website comicbooked.com. So please also check out Tony Calandra's reviews on comicbooked.com. They're personal friends for most of my life, and they're hella cool guys. So please show them some love. Moving along, I was ecstatic to get this piece. You all know how I feel about Jonah Hex. You know how I feel about Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I finally got to meet him. I have a hardcover that I bought that was pre-signed by him, but I finally met him, and he was so damn nice. So humble. I mean, this guy is truly a legend in every sense of the word. There was only a few guys I was kind of nervous to talk to, and he was one. He was one, and you almost feel like he's so humble. He's the one that's happy to meet you, and he really put me at ease. He was so polite and so nice, and he was like, he could tell. I was like, man, I've been following your work for so long. I've always wanted to meet you. I'm so happy to finally meet you. He's like, he's like, I'm just a regular guy. Exactly what I said. I was like, with all due respect, there's not too much regular. I was like, outside of your pleasant demeanor, there's not too much regular about your work. I'll tell you that. So he signed my Jonah Hex and a Batman Whitman variant, but I saw this on the table and I had to get it. It was his prototypical sketch, the layout, rough sketch of the Jonah Hex holiday card he designed in 2009. And I had to buy that. And now I'm going to have to track down a copy of the card to get like a double frame done with both pieces in there. So, but I'm very happy to have that. I think I only paid $40 for that. So, can't argue with that. Next up, he didn't take too long to do this, so it isn't as detailed as George Perez's normal work, but yeah, he would do a sketch for anybody that wanted them for $40 while he signed your books. And I mean, he didn't even take 10 minutes to do this, so, but it's still great. And George Perez sketch for $40, you can't argue with that. And I'm just happy as hell because Deathstroke's one of my favorite villains. And I have a Deathstroke piece done by the guy who created him and one of the greatest artists in comic history. So I'm thrilled to have picked that one up. And he was so nice. And I think it was Scott that brought up, not only does Hero Initiative do a lot of cool stuff and you get your signatures and all these great creators at the table, all the money's going to an awesome cause to these older creators who need it, who got screwed and didn't get paid what they should have for their work. So that's true. You're getting an awesome piece, and you're helping out a guy who created the stuff you love who needs it. Good point, Scott. This here may be my favorite thing I got at the whole show. You guys know how much I love Super Friends, and this is my Aquaman sketch done by 84-year-old Ramona Fradon. An 84-year-old lady drew that. I mean, are you kidding me? Most 84-year-old people have arthritis so bad they can barely write their name. And, I mean, Thuggy pointed out an article to me the day after I met her that, when in an interview she said she's very self-conscious of her pencil and line work. And she doesn't feel like her work compares well with her contemporaries. And you guys that are looking at this piece right now know that is just ridiculous. That is a gorgeous piece. And after reading that, I felt so good because I laid it on a little thick for her because her work is special to me. Like I said, Super Friends is what got me into collecting comics, what got me into superheroes. And I told her the story about how these were kind of like the first comics my mom bought me because I liked the show so much. So she comes home with a stack of comics. And at 4 and 5 years old, I made her read them to me so much that I ended up memorizing the dialogue. And when she wasn't around, I'd look through the books and recite the dialogue and point at the words. And that's how I taught myself, like, okay, this is this word, this is this word, this is this word. Eventually, it all just made sense, and I started reading. It just clicked. I remember it vividly. It just clicked, and I'm like, I'm reading this book on my own now. And I was 5 years old. And I told her about that, and she goes, really? My comics taught you to read? I said, yes, ma'am. And I said, that's just because I loved Super Friends so much. And I gushed over her table of artwork. I was just like, these are beautiful. Oh, God, look at this, look at this. And she was smiling nonstop. She was a sweetheart, but I really kind of just babbled on about her artwork for a while, and I wish I'd have taken more video and pictures of it because some of it was great. There's this Batgirl that was so awesome, I almost bought it instead of this. It was amazing. She did a Zatanna that I wanted to buy. She had some Plastic Man and Metamorpho where she had this Metamorpho where he turned into like a 60-something Mustang and you just see his head sticking out of the front. It was amazing. And so hearing that from Thuggy, I'm so glad I kind of laid it on and made her feel special because to me she is and her work is. And again, 84 years old, we should all be so lucky we even know our name at 84. And look what the hell she's doing. Class act. And yeah, she deserved to be lined up with any of her contemporaries in my book. She's awesome. Just because she didn't work on she worked on a quote-unquote kids book doesn't mean shit to me. I think she's amazing. The last thing I want to show here is, as long as I've been collecting, I never got into buying original art and as far as pages and covers go, because it's so expensive, and that would be a bad addiction for me to start. But I like Barry Kitson a lot, and he's very decent to his fans, so he actually cut me a pretty good deal on this page, so I bought it. And this is from Captain America issue 635. It's actually, when they started teaming up people with him, Captain America and Iron Man 635. And this is page 17. And it's basically MODOK getting shut down by Iron Man. And, God, I think it's Maria Hill, the lady who used to be in S.H.I.E.L.D. and now she's in S.W.O.R.D. I believe that's Maria Hill is her name, but I'm kind of brain farting. I'll have to double check on that. But the point is, on this original art, before it's colored, you really see the beautiful detail of the artist's work, and Barry is talented. And, I'm happy to have that. He's very cool, and he signed that, and I'm going to have to get that framed, and I hope this doesn't start another addiction with me where I'm trying to buy original covers now, because that's just something I can't afford to start doing too often, but very happy to have that. It's my first page of original art, and I know it's from a classy guy. And as a matter of fact, Barry was supposed to do a sketch for me, and he didn't get to it. And he apologized to me on the second day and was like, if it was another creator, I'd chalk it up as a loss. But he gave me his email, and I emailed him. He already emailed me back. He said, these are the shows I'm doing. You know, if it's not till Philly or Baltimore next year, we catch up. He's like, email me before the show. You'll be first on my list. I'm going to take care of you. And I believe him, because he's been nothing but good to me. I've met him many times. And he said he treats his fans like friends, and it's not a lie. So I have faith that he will keep his word and make it up to me. And I told him I wanted Swamp Thing, or if that was going to take too long, Conan. So hopefully, since he didn't get to it and he's going to do it at a later date, hopefully he will do the Swamp Thing for me. So down the road, I will let you guys know how that goes. And, you know, he told me he does signings at a local shop, because the guy who owns that shop puts on the Baltimore Comic Con. So he's done a couple signings at that guy's shop when he's in town. So he said, if I go do a signing at Cards, Comics, and Collectibles, I'll let you know, and you can come out there, and I'll definitely get it done for you. So he's a cool guy, and I have a feeling he'll take care of me. So I'll let everyone know how that turns out. But once again, as always, thank you guys for taking the time to watch my video. I love sharing my stuff with you guys, and I love seeing all the cool stuff that you guys own and all the stuff you guys pick up. So again, thanks. And thanks for all the subscriptions and video views and comments and all of your support. You know, it's a real tight-knit community. And, you know, I was telling William, you know, comics are what bond us, but, you know, it seems like everybody in this community, genuinely cares about each other, and they're always encouraging each other, and like, oh, I hope you feel better. Oh, I hope you find a better job. Hope everything works out for you. I'll keep you in my prayers. I mean, there's this one guy, Bat Paranormal, every time he comments, God bless, he's always trying to put out, you know, goodwill to everybody, and that sums this community up in a nutshell. We're here for comics, but we all support each other, and we all hope each other's personal lives are okay. And that's one of the many things that's cool. So we can all learn something from each other on here, and we all help each other. You know, it's weird, just a little comment like that. I'm sure when you're having a rough time, a little comment like that to know other people's thoughts are with you, it does help. So to anybody out there who's having problems or dealing with illness or financial problems, anything like that, I truly hope life gives you the good hand you deserve. So everyone, take care of yourselves and your families. Take care of your comic books. And thank you again for watching. Take care. Happy comic book reading and collecting.